Hey guys, what's good? This is Israel Christopher coming at ya. Anyway, thank you for watching my channel. This is my first video ever, and this is real life. So basically, before we start this video, I'm just going to give a disclaimer out there for all you haters. That yes, I do know I am a bigger girl, so if you want to talk about it, talk about it. I love myself, so I don't really care. If you want to talk about the fact that my hair is extra, I know, and I love it, and everybody else loves it, so who cares? And yes, I do some crazy makeup. It's not really that crazy today. What's up? Anyway, today this video is going to be about women and men knowing their worth. So, if you don't know me personally, or if you just got to know me or whatever, I'll give you a little background. I do have two children. They are both from different fathers. I am married to my 5-month-old daughter's father, and I have a 4-year-old. I was married to my first daughter's father. It lasted about a year and some change. We almost were together for 2 years, but it didn't work out. And one of the biggest things is that I didn't know my worth, and I was very insecure about myself. And by no means was it my fault that we got divorced. By no means. So don't get me twisted right there. It was not my fault. He was not faithful. So that was a big thing, but that was also why I was insecure and I didn't know my worth, and I do believe that I stuck around a little bit longer than I should have. So I know that this doesn't just always happen with women, but it tends to happen more with women than men. That in my experience, in my life, I've noticed that it's more women that end up on the left side, which this is my right side, the left side, and really turn into a very insecure person. So, and it's not just with men. It could be that, your father wasn't around or whatever the case may be. There's so many reasons why women don't know their worth. But Israel Christopher, that's me, she's here to tell you that your worth is huge, is magnificent. I just need to let women know that out there, and men, because a lot of men get played too, and it's not fair. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. It's not fair. And this is the biggest thing, is that when I was married the first time, my husband wasn't faithful, and I was bigger, and I still am. That's not a surprise to anybody. I still am bigger, but the thing is that back then I didn't know my worth. Now I know my worth. Once I was divorced and cut off the toxic relationship that I was in with my first husband, things began to come into focus. I surrounded myself with my family and friends who loved me. And that's the biggest thing that I want to tell anybody out there that has just gotten out of a toxic relationship. Do not, repeat, do not get into another relationship, even if the relationship, people say, the relationship was dead a long time ago, blah, 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 blah. So, I feel like I should be able to move on right away. No, stop, pause. Rewind. Don't press play unless you're going to be alone. Okay? Thank you. Anyway, I decided, you know what? I need to be by myself. It just needs to be me, my daughter. I need to make sure that she has everything that she wants, that she is comfortable, because thankfully, she was young. And for those mothers out there that have children and are separated recently from their significant other, you have to make sure that you put that child first at all times. And oh yeah, I put my daughter first all the time. It doesn't matter. I understand that. You can say that all you want, but what I'm saying is, when it comes to you being in a depression mode, in a situation where you don't know what to do anymore because you don't have this person to lean on anymore, it's just you, it can be overwhelming. And you can choose yourself before you choose that child. You can feel sorry for yourself instead of worrying about what you need to do for your child or your children or whatever the case may be. You have to make sure that that child comes first. But like I said before, please do not get into another relationship right away. Please don't. Because, I got into a relationship about 6 or 7 months after I got divorced, and I married him. But the thing was that I still had so much damage from my previous relationship that he had to go through hell and high water just to keep me. And I have been so grateful because I love my husband. He is amazing. He's great. He gave me a beautiful another little girl. So we have 2 little girls now. That's awesome. And I love him to death. But I know for a fact that I wasn't ready. And now that I look back on it, then I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to get back out there. I'm ready to do what I need to do. But you know what? It could take years. It could take years, not just months. And that's what I didn't understand at the time. But I'm here to tell you that it could take years to be totally ready, mentally, physically, emotionally ready to be in another relationship. After you've been in a long one, even a short one, it really doesn't matter. But all I know is that I was with my ex for about 2.5 years altogether, because we dated for about 6-7 months before we got married. So, it was really hard, and I'm not going to get emotional because I have a wonderful life now. I'm so happy with everything that's going on in my life. But when I was in that 6-month period, it was one of the darkest months of my life. I was in a very dark place. And because I was in a very dark place, when you're down, the devil tries to keep you down. And there was plenty of things that kept me down. I was down about this whole divorce, how it went down, how sad I was. He had literally gotten in a relationship the month later after we were totally separated, totally divorced. He got into another relationship, and that bothered me. That hurt me. I was like, okay, so I must be nothing if you and I were married for almost 2 years. We were together for almost 2.5, and you literally up and divorced me, which actually I divorced him, just so you know, and move on, and you get in a whole nother relationship. That happens way too often. Usually the person that tries to make the relationship work is the one that stays alone the longest, but they also can be the first ones to get back in a relationship, because some people think they need someone. And let me tell you something, you guys don't need anybody to make you happy. No one. You do not need no one, because at the end of the day, you came in here by yourself. Unless you're twins or whatever. But you came in this world by yourself, and you're going to leave by yourself. And you have to make yourself happy and know your worth before you try to make someone else happy. Because the biggest thing is that so many people think that they need somebody else. And I thought I needed somebody. And I was like, okay, it's been 6 months. I think, I need to get back out there. But it was really just because I was tired of being alone. I was tired of, just being a single parent who worked full-time hours and had no room to do anything except for go out here and there, you know, get a babysitter, go out. But like those people that I met at the club, I mean, and I'm not saying that you can't go to the club and find someone that you can be with forever. But in my experience, any guy that I ever met in the club or any guy that I ever spoke to in the club, I knew that that would never be a forever relationship for me. The people that I met, I was just like, oh, let's flirt, let's talk, and that was it. You know, I couldn't go any further than that with them. But with all that being said, it's just, I ended up finding my husband now on a dating website. Shout out to UPOF. Shout out. Sorry, that was too much. That was too much information probably. But, you know, I was literally a full-time mom and a full-time employee. So I literally had barely any time to find someone unless they walked in looking like Hercules coming through my door at my job. And that never happened. And like I said before, I didn't find anybody in the club. But what I'm trying to get at with everyone that's watching this show right now is that you have to know your worth before you get into a relationship. You have to. I don't care if it takes you forever. If it takes you 1 month, 2 months, 3 years, 5 years, you have to know it before you get into another relationship. You have to know before you get into any relationship. Because if you don't, I promise you that relationship will go through so many trial and tribulations, and before you know it, you may not be able to salvage that relationship because of how you treated the person that you were trying to be with. Like, I was so mean when I first got in a relationship. I was mean. I was a bully. I was mean. I was constantly finding something, just something that looked like what my ex had done in any way, shape, or form. Like, I could have been like, oh, my ex drinks coffee like that. Stop drinking your coffee like that. Like, that's how serious it was for me, was that I literally, I was trying to find anything I could to compare him and make him feel bad about it. And be like, if you want to be with me, you have to change this. I was trying to change every single part of this man who I knew I loved, who I knew I wanted to be with, but because of all the hurt that I had gone through in my past, I would not allow myself to just love him and myself to just be happy. I had to find something wrong all the time. And I have since apologized to him when we got married, before we got married. I've had to apologize a couple times. I still, after being divorced, I got divorced in 2015. So it's 2018. So I've almost been divorced for almost 3 years now. And I still have things I have to work on. I still have to remind myself of my worth, and I have to remind myself of my husband's worth. I have to remind myself, and that's the thing, is that you don't need to just know your worth, you need to know your significant other's worth. Because when you talk to them, you better talk to them correct. Yes, there's times where they're going to make mistakes, and that's when you need to address that accordingly. But when it comes to you having to live with this person, when it comes to you having to accept the fact that you want to be with this person, yes, and you have to accept it, because there's a lot of times where you're like, you know what, I really love this guy, but I don't know if it's it. I really love him. If you love him, you need to give him a fair chance. And you need to remind yourself of his worth or her worth. Because at the end of the day, one of you guys is going to realize your worth, and depending on who's treating the other badly, they're gonna leave, and it may take a long time, or they may leave different ways. They may have to move out of town, and they're like, you know what, I don't want to take you with me because you're mean. Point blank period. I don't want to take you with you because you're mean. You're disrespectful and you don't treat me right. Or it could be, God forbid, But they could die because if they got sick, something happened, and you never got to really treat them the way that they needed to be treated. There are so many ways that it could go out, but at the end of the day, you have to realize that you have to know your worth and you have to know theirs. So many people have gotten divorced in the last several years, more than I've ever seen. And I've had people come to me and talk to me about it because they know I've been divorced. They want to know how I've dealt with it. They want to know what I did when I, drew up the divorce papers. They've asked me plenty of things, and I have been more than willing to, give that advice out. I know, for those who don't know, I'm only 23 years old. So I have been through a lot, and as this channel goes forward, you'll learn more about my life and you'll learn more about how to deal with certain things, if you continue watching, which I hope you do. But there's so many people out here that have asked me, how did you deal with it? How did you get past it? What did you have to do? And you know what? It's an ongoing thing. Because when you have been married once already and you try to get into another relationship, people judge you. They really do. People think that, oh, well, there's never enough time in between unless you been divorced for 10 years and then it's okay for you to move on. It's a huge thing. And like I said before, I've accepted that I may have moved on a little too quickly. And I did. But the fact that other people think that they can look down in my life and think, oh, she should have waited. Oh, she should have done more to make that relationship work. Okay, let me tell you something. You weren't there. Okay? That's the first thing that you guys have to remember with knowing your worth, is that other people aren't going to know your worth. These people were not there. They did not live the life that you lived. They do not know what happened. They do not know the undergoing circumstances of what you went through. And even if you talk to some of your friends, they may not even know the whole story. Because with anybody that I've ever explained about my relationship before my husband now and what happened and everything like that, no one knows the whole entire big picture. Not even my family. And it's okay, because that's your life. That's things that you went through. That's your own personal business. You do not have to ever give everybody the play-by-play of your life. You don't. They don't need it. They don't deserve it. And I'm not saying, oh, you don't deserve to know my whole life story. And that's not the case. It's just that certain things you just like to keep to yourself. Certain things people don't need to know, and it's okay that they don't know. Like my husband is probably the only person that knows almost everything that's happened in my past, but he still doesn't know. There's certain things I tell him every day and he's like, what? Okay, what happened? Yeah. So, and we've only been together for 2 years now, a little over 2 years, and we've been married since last October. And there's a lot of things that he doesn't know. But one thing that he has done, for me is he's been there whenever I've needed him to be there. He has loved me when he really didn't have to. To be honest, there's been a lot of things that I have put him through, and don't get me wrong, there's things that he did to me. There's things, no relationship's ever going to be perfect. The way that you have to go through a relationship is that, is this something that I can move forward from? Or is it something that I just have to say, I got to call it quits because I can't do this anymore. I can't live my life. I can never completely and totally forgive you for what you did. At least, being this way, being married to you, I can't forgive you because I'm going to have to see your face every day. I'm going to have to, and that's just going to remind me of what you did to me. That's okay. That is okay. You do not have to stay in a relationship because of anything. I had a daughter, and I grew up with a father that wasn't really around much, because he played football overseas, indoor. He played a lot of football, and once I turned 4 or 5, he was gone. He was always gone. And it was really hard because, there'd be times where, like my mom and dad wouldn't get along. And that was hard for me, and I just didn't want my daughter to have to go through that. I did not want to have my daughter have to grow up and not be with the father, her actual biological father. I did not want that. I did not want her to have to spend time over here and then have to spend time over here and then have to come back and forth. That was never fun for me. I mean, it was fun to get on an airplane. It was fun to go see my father, but at the same time, it wasn't the life that I wish I had. I wish that my mom and dad stayed in the same home, but they didn't want to be together. And that's something that I had to accept, but I didn't want to have my kids accept that, but at the same token, I knew that staying in that toxic relationship with my ex-husband would have been a nightmare, and my daughter would have suffered so much more if I stayed, because we would constantly argue because of his unfaithfulness, because of this, because of this, because of that, It was always an argument. Almost every single day we had something to fight about. And she was little, so she didn't understand it. She didn't know what was really going on. But then she'd have to see her mom crying afterwards. She'd have to see her father upset. She'd have to see all these things. And that's not how you should let your children live. That's not fair to them. So that's what you have to realize, is that, oh, I'm doing this for the kids. But if you're not happy, your kids will notice that you're unhappy as the time goes on, and they will start to be unhappy. And that's not fair for anybody in that relationship. No one should have to live life unhappy all the time. No one. So, just so we can wrap this up. Dang, this has been a little long video. I'm sorry that I've probably ranted, gone here, there, and that. I kind of do that a little bit. Sorry. But just to wrap this up, just to give an overview of everything, know your worth. Don't get in a relationship until you do. And just know that you have to make yourself happy before you can make anybody else happy. And once you do that, you can go flourish. I take you, flap your wings, and be free. But until then, you need to take your time. You need to take it one day at a time. And until you just sit in bed and you're okay with being alone, you're okay with, the fact that you don't have a significant other, then you can start to think about those things. Not just dive in, because you had just became okay with it. But just when you get to that point, you can start thinking about that. But you have to really make sure that you're happy first, and that you know your worth, and that, this is what I'm going to take. This is how I'm going to be treated. And if I'm treated any differently, peace. Okay? So, just so you guys know, I do have social media. If you guys are watching this and aren't on my social media already, I will link everything down in the box below. And I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I will be having story times on this channel. I will be having advice on this channel. I'll be doing Q&As on this channel. If you guys have any questions, you can email me, you can text me, you can Snapchat me, whatever you want to do. You can do all those things, because I'm going to leave it all below. And I mean, I can even do a whole channel of just answering questions. That's perfectly fine with me. I know that a lot of people, I know that this is just my first video and you don't know everything that I've gone through, but as the time goes on, feel free to ask me any question that you want, because I am an open book. I'm ready for any question that you throw at me. Just be respectful. That's all I can ask. Okay? Love, peace, and fro grease, and y'all have a wonderful day, night, whatever. Bye.